Hey guys, this is part one of the halftime analysis on Wrexham with Paul. You can catch part two tomorrow morning. I hope you enjoyed the video. Hey guys, welcome back to the halftime analysis. It's me, Jono, here again for another halftime analysis. Last time we had Boom on and he spoke about his second team in Real Madrid. This time I am joined by one of my co-hosts, Paul, for his beloved Wrexham. How are you, Paul?
I'm good, mate. How are you? I bet you're very happy this evening.
I am, yeah. It's just watched the Carabao Cup final, first trophy in 6 years, so I'm happy. Yeah, but that's not why we're here tonight. We're here tonight to talk about Wrexham. So, start off. How is your season going so far, mate?
It's been amazing. So it's one of those seasons that any other year, I can say this really safely, but any other year, if a team was doing what Wrexham are doing this year, they would be. You'd have promotion nailed on. We'd be planning League Two already, and to be fair, we can't because Notts County have been just as good as us. It's been amazing. The football at times isn't the best, but that's Phil Parkinson's teams have never been the best football teams to watch.
Yeah.
They are very much about nullifying what the opposition does and breaking quickly and getting down the outsides. But having had years of no investment, really bang average players, it's so nice to see class players back at the racecourse ground because we've had really good players over the years and actually be able to enjoy the football again. And not only that, actually see young kids wanting to come and watch Wrexham again. It's amazing. But the season's going really well. We've just gone top of the league. We will go top of the league. Sorry, getting ahead of myself on Tuesday. If we beat Chesterfield, because Notts County lost last night to Dagenham and Redbridge, which I am over the moon with, and I'm enjoying winding up some Notts County fans on Twitter. Which I've been doing for nearly the last 24 hours now. But yeah, it's going amazingly well. Hopefully over the next couple of weeks, we'll pull clear of county and be able to enjoy it a little bit more. Because I have a feeling between now and the end of April, it's going to be horrible. This is business end now, isn't it? And this is where it's going to get really nasty, and it's going to be It was at the game yesterday. It was a nervous energy. You couldn't really enjoy the game. Even when we were 3-0 up, there was still a nervous energy that we could do more than we were doing, and I kind of want that to disappear a little bit. I just want to be able to enjoy the football. I'm sure when I look back on it and I watch the highlights at the end of the season that the various websites put out, I'll love it. But right now, I butterflies and nerves and that sick feeling during games is horrible. Like the Woking game, for example, we didn't deserve to get a point out of it, but we did, and it was a horrible game to watch. We just, sometimes our football is so poor that we don't look like title challengers, and then sometimes we look really good. So yeah, it's going well though in the whole of it. It's probably the best season we've had for 20-25 years, probably, I would say.
Yeah, great. I have been. I haven't always followed non-league very, very much, but with the Wrexham story, and I've really been keeping an eye on it the last few seasons, and it is interesting to see where it's going.
But that's what's interesting, because now there are more people following non-league football. Obviously, quite a lot of the banter between Wrexham and County fans and Chesterfield fans is that we get a lot of penalties because of Paul Mullin.
Yeah.
And even now, you only have to go on Twitter and see that we're being accused of paying off referees because the league one has gone. But like you say, more and more people are watching the National League because of us. So you'd think that they'd be doing all they could to keep us in the league. But yeah, it's the banter, I think, between non-league teams is unparalleled. There's no nastiness in it. I think when you go up the leagues, Liverpool United, for example, is very nasty. So it's nice. It's nice.
It's really good when you get those upsets as well. Like obviously, I grew up in like the Eastbourne Howsham area, and one of the Eastbourne teams knocked out in one of the cups a team in a few leagues above this weekend. Which that's the kind of story You get occasionally in
Yeah.
the top leagues, but you don't
get me wrong. The whole fairy tale story that people are spinning,
Yeah.
the media are spinning, should I say?
Yeah.
The way we're being operated now, we aren't a fairy tale story. We spend
Yeah.
money. We are buying
Yeah.
League One and Championship caliber players.
Yeah.
But the fairy tale comes from the fact that we nearly went bust and we had to be ran by the fans and we were only able to give out 1 year contracts and we didn't know if we were going to turn the lights on one day to the next. That's what the fairy tale is, that we've gone from, you know, living like a pauper to now living like kings. And that's the fairy tale side of it. And that's what fans ignore when they want to have a go at us. And I mean, everybody's going to have a go at us because we're the big spenders and, you know, we are the Chelsea or the Man City of the National League at the moment with the money that we can offer to players.
That's a good segment as well. On the money you've spent, you made a lot of signings last summer. So did you want to go through some of the signings that you think have been good and bad and give me a hit and a miss for those signings?
Do you know what? I'll honestly say there's not been one bad signing. They are all hits for me. There are some that just haven't played, and you can't describe them as a miss. Rory Watson, for example, who came from Scunthorpe, is a third choice goalkeeper. He's only young. Kai Calderbank Park was the same. Scott Butler will be a very good centre half. In terms of the players that have come into the first team, Elliot Lee is amazing. He's easily a League One player. On the ball, he's skillful. His close control is phenomenal. He can go past 3 players in a millisecond and just take them out of the game. And he'll score goals from 25, 30 yards regularly. He did it against Farnborough in the Cup. He did it at Coventry. He did it yesterday. A really, really good player. Andy Cannon probably hasn't been fit since he came in, but now he's fit. He is looking a very good player. And the one player who I up until a couple of weeks ago, I would have said he was a miss was Sam Dolby. So Sam came in from Southend and Jake Hyde went to Southend on loan as part of the deal. And we definitely got the better side of that deal. Sam has kind of grown into his role in the team and he's now pushing Ollie Palmer for a first team place, which he started ahead of him yesterday and scored. That wouldn't have happened 6 months ago. So actually the transfer deals for what we've done and what we spent have all been very, very good. They've gone after the right players. Players like Ryan Barnet, I can't judge. He only came in Friday, so we haven't seen him. But he looked good when he played for Solihull against us. He's looked very good this season. He's put the most crosses into the box, which when we play with Ollie Palmer and Sam, that's what we want. Big strikers need crosses to head in. So, yeah, I mean, they'll all be good players if we're lucky enough to go up to League Two as well. Probably one who is underrated though is Jacob Mendy, because he came from Boreham Wood, so he came from this level, but he's so quick and so fit for a wing back. He's phenomenal, and he used to play for Atletico Madrid, which is kind of one of them. He came from their academy, so I think you've got to have something about you to come from that level of football. He will be. He's another one at the start of the season. I don't think many saw pushing McFadzean for a place, who came in last year, and he's now probably our first choice left wing back.
And I'm sure if he's been at Atletico as well, I'm sure he's been drilled heavily on defensive, like the way they play.
You'd think so.
Even like being under Simeone, you'd think he'd.
You would think so. I mean, like I say, he's not amazing going backwards, but going forward, he's superb. I mean, he's 26, so he would have been coming. He's not an old player either, but he left Atletico in 2016, so that would have been Simeone. He would have been there then, so they probably would have had some training, maybe not a lot, but he's only ever really applied his football at this level and below. So I think when he came in, people were a little bit concerned, but he's impressed everybody. Absolutely, he's one player that I take my stepdaughter to the games and she loves him. She didn't even know who he was the start of the season, and now he's like a favourite player ahead of the likes of Elliot Lee and Paul Mullin and all that. And I think if you can win over the young fans as a defender, you're doing something right, in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
I mean, like I say, you can't criticize the business we've done. I would have liked to have seen us sign a good young goalkeeper. Yes, we've got Watson in, but we relied on Mark Howard for bulk of the season. He's 35, 36, played at quite a high level. He's played League One football. But at times he's let us down with the goals he's conceded. Rob Layton's now back fit, who's arguably the best goalkeeper in the National League. So we've kind of got away with it. But I think next season, Rob Layton's 32. We need to go and get a mid-20s goalkeeper who can push Rob and look to get in the first team. Rob is quite susceptible to concussions.
Yeah,
he's very much a no-fear goalie. Comes out, and will take the man as well as the ball. But it does result in, like, he fractured his wrist last year doing that, and I think he missed 3 games with concussion and all that kind of stuff. And how much longer?
It's so much of that in football.
Especially from goalkeepers.
Years.
Yeah, especially goalies. They are literally putting their head where players' feet are, aren't they? So on knees, and I couldn't be a goalie. I think you've got to be a different breed to be a keeper.
Yeah, even centre backs as well. Like it turned out not be. Even in the cup final today, one of their centre backs went down for a bit, and they stopped. They stopped the play a bit because they thought it might be a bit concussion.
Yeah.
So it's just an everyday football every day.
What I don't understand with football, it's probably a discussion for another time, but I still don't understand that we don't have concussion substitutions.
I agree. Yeah,
because you have them in rugby, and it doesn't take 2 minutes to diagnose a concussion. It can take 10 minutes. We should be having that concussion substitution. And the fact we're not is just putting... I actually touched on this for a recent university assignment I did. It's putting more and more players at risk. And when you've got charities and you've got former players now who are in their 50s and 60s being diagnosed with dementia, and some people dying from the side effects of that, we now need to be putting this in place and really just actually taking care of these players, because especially at this level, all right, Wrexham now, but before Wrexham, they might have been in 500 quid a week, and that's not a lot of money. I earn 500 quid a week in my job, so
same.
Careers are short, and if you get a concussion, that shortens your lifespan drastically, especially if you repeatedly get it. So it's worrying that we don't have that kind of thing in place.
Yeah, definitely. Now, going on to some of your games. So on here, we break down some of your games, which we think is your most important games of the season. So we're going to go straight in to your first game. That's a 5-0 win against Maidstone. So did you want to talk us about that game?
Yeah, so we started the season poorly. I think there was a little bit of hangover from last year. We finished second last year, which incidentally is why I don't want to finish second this year. Because, we finished second last year and lost to Grimsby 5-4 in the playoffs. And we lost the FA Trophy at the back end of last year. So I think going into this year, there was a little bit of hangover, where we'd given everything we could after a bad start the season before to get to fight for the title. And we'd lost to Chesterfield at this point. We'd drawn with Yeovil. And then we had Maidstone at home, who aren't a terrible team, I would say. But to go and beat them 5-0, and Paul Mullen getting a hat-trick, it kind of just kick-started our season a little bit. And I think we needed that, because we hadn't shown that free-flowing football that we had done last year at times and scored lots of goals. And one of our key things is going forward. So to actually get that result, and it was at home as well, which is a big thing, is to get the home fans on side early doors. It was key, and it kind of just sped us forward to a little bit to where we find ourselves today. We went on to win a couple of really tough games following that as well, which I don't think we would have won had we not done that. But I think it also showed that we can score lots of goals, even playing what is a relatively defensive system, that we can, if we need to, just kind of cut loose and score 3, 4, 5 goals, which we've done a few times this year.
As you say, I think that pushed you on into your goals for the season. Next game you had was a 7-5. What a game against Barnet! What a game!
Yeah. I didn't get to go to this game. I couldn't get a ticket for this game. And honestly, if there was a game that I'd wanted to be at this season, it probably wasn't this one. But there are reasons for that. Because I mean, I've got this game in front of me. So we went 1-0 up, then they equalised, then they took the lead, we went 2-2, then we scored straight after. And then they levelled again, and then we scored 2, then they levelled and got one late on. So it was literally back and forth football, which for a neutral, you'd love to watch it. And, you know, why wouldn't you? It was an amazing game. For me, as a fan, because I remember I wasn't the reason I couldn't get a ticket for it is at the time my daughter was in Alder Hey undergoing chemotherapy, so I was listening to it on the ward at the time. The streaming hadn't kicked in, so I had Mark Griffiths, who is Wrexham's commentator for the web player. He does so if it's a 3:00 kickoff in this country, we can't stream it, so we all listen to Mark on the website. And I'm going absolutely berserk on the children's ward of the children's cancer ward of Alder Hey Hospital, having to explain to the nurses why 1 minute I'm cheering and the next minute I'm going berserk because we've conceded a really stupid goal. And not only that, my daughter's obviously there, like, doesn't know what's going on. She's looking like she's stupid. She's not even 1 at the time. And and her mum's like going to kill me at some point. But I had to listen to the game because Casey, who comes to the games with me, was with me as well, because it was a Saturday, so it was kids' day. And me and her were like huddled around my phone. It's like, 1-0, yeah, again. And then the next minute it's 1-0. It's like, and that game for me, it sticks with me for a couple of reasons. One, it sticks with me for that memory I will have for the rest of my life, of what was an absolutely dreadful year of being in Alder Hey. That memory kind of is a happy one of that situation. But in terms of Wrexham, it showed that we can win the games where we are poor defensively, and we can outscore opposition. Up until that point, I mean, I've got the results in front of me. So up until that point, we'd won games. Obviously, some of them we'd won 4-0, 5-0. Some of them we'd won 1-0, lost one. We lost 2-0 at Chesterfield. We were winning 2-1 kind of sloppily, and I think that one was the one game that we kind of said, well, what are we going to do if a team comes at us and can cut us open and can score? And I think we found out just kind of how mentally strong they are as players, and how together as a unit, because it was very easy to turn on each other in that game because there were some individual errors. And I think the fact they didn't do that and they fought through it shows a real unity that has been needed at times this season. And even the lesser players, and I use lesser as a in the nicest sense of the word, that nobody, I suppose, is a lesser player. But if I look back on that team, likes of Cleworth was starting. So Max Cleworth is a Wrexham youngster. Used to play for Connors Quay, which is a local team up here. He's not a first choice centre back, but he played that game because we had injuries. And it would be really easy for the players to single him out. But instead, over the season, I think starting from that game, they've elevated him, and he is now just as important as the other 5, as the other 3 or the other 4 centre backs that we've got. And I think that is it showed the mentality of this squad, that they are very much a group that aren't just here for money, because they are all on very good wages, but they're here to win. They're not mercenaries. And I think up until that point, there was probably a few concerns about the money that was being chucked around. Certainly from my point of view, anyway.
Yeah, fair enough. And next, you had a 2-0 against Chesterfield.
Yeah, so that was our first defeat of the season. So I touched on it a little bit there. So we'd, up until that point, that was our 3rd game of the season. We'd beat Eastleigh 2-1 opening day, and then we drew at Yeovil. And Chesterfield at the time were considered our big rivals. I think Notts County, where it was thought Notts County would push but maybe not have enough. Chesterfield last year had been close behind us. So to go to Chesterfield and lose 2-0, both goals coming in the opening half an hour, it was almost like, oh my God, what are we going to do? We lost the third game. There had been rumblings last season that Phil Parkinson wasn't the man for Wrexham. He had a really bad start to the season last year, and there were calls from fans to sack him. And it's even on the documentary, Rob and Ryan asking, what are we going to do? And they decided to stick with him. And I think that game was one of them that the fans then started questioning, is it going to happen again? Are we just going to have another poor start to the season? It's going to cost us later on down the line. And if we'd had that start to the season this year, we wouldn't be in this position, And that game was, I say it's key because of the feelings it resurrected with the fan base.
Yeah.
People will think it's been all sunshine and rainbows at Wrexham this season, and it hasn't. There have been moments like this game where we've thought, oh Jesus, we came so close last year. We're gonna Wrexham it this year, and we've Wrexhamed it enough times to not want to do it again. If I'm honest, and it's so bad that we've actually coined that bloody term now. That it genuinely, you'll go on Twitter or you'll go on Facebook groups, and you'll see us say we've Wrexhamed it, and it's just. Yeah, we Wrexhamed the playoffs last year.
Yeah.
So, but that's just kind of the way we are as a fan base. We are a very pessimistic fan base. We're not a fan base that thinks we're gonna. Even now, Wrexham fans are saying we're not gonna. We haven't won. Don't say anything until May, because if we start looking ahead, we're going to Wrexham it and we'll end up in the bloody playoffs. No Wrexham fan is saying, is celebrating really this Notts County defeat last night. So that's how strict we are. And I think that game is probably the best thing that could have happened to us.
Yeah.
Getting that loss in early doors. I wouldn't want to be in Notts County situation now, for example.
Yeah.
Losing at this point of the season. So yeah, I think that was key just because it reminded us all of last season, but then I suppose it also reminded us of what came after. So
yeah, and that's a good segue into our next game, which is a 1-0 again, 1-0 Notts County, not 1-0 against Notts County.
So that's our other defeat. We've only lost 2 games this season, in the league anyway. Obviously, we lost to the FA Cup and the FA Trophy. But yeah, we've only lost 2 games in the league. So the Notts County one was a little bit different because that came back in October, and it was Macaulay Langstaff that scored, and he is far and away he is for me the best out and out striker in the league. I absolutely love Paul Mullin, but Paul Mullin takes penalties, and Langstaff doesn't. Langstaff has got 30 goals from open play.
Wow.
He doesn't take free kicks. He doesn't take penalties. So he is the best out and out striker in the Premier in the National League. I think if just a little segue, if Notts County don't get promoted, he will leave next season.
Yeah,
he'll be go via. I wouldn't be surprised to see Wrexham going for him and playing with Mullin, because that front line.
that'd be good.
Oh, it would. Yeah, it'd be amazing.
Do you think they're playing with Palmer or?
No, I think they're playing with Mullin because Mullin plays as a number 10.
Yeah.
So it'll allow Langstaff to play as a number 9.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a story. That's a conversation for May, not for now. But this one it was a 1-0 defeat. We played poorly. And this was the second game against what was considered rivals for the titles, maybe third rivals, I would say, behind Chesterfield. And to go again to Notts County and lose was frustrating, because obviously the games that came before it, we'd been to Oldham and won. We'd won 6-0 against Torquay, 4-1 against Dagenham and Redbridge, and we'd beat Dorking 5-0. So we'd been on a really good run of scoring goals freely, and Notts County just shut us down. And I think that opened some fans' eyes, maybe some fans who hadn't seen us before and they were maybe new to the club. And I think it opened their eyes to say, we don't always have an answer. Do you know what I mean? We don't. If at the time it was very much shut Mullin down, you'll shut Wrexham down. And that's what that game was. And I think that game was key for us then looking at other avenues of where we could attack from, who could contribute to the play. Getting Elliot Lee a little bit more involved. And then actually the Barnet result we spoke about before was the game after it. So, I think there was to go to Notts County and be shut out completely, to then go and score 7 goals. Matt conceded 5, but but to score 7 goals the game after, there was a slight tweak in the tactics that Mullin dropped a little bit deeper and Elliot Lee pushed a little bit further forward, and it just linked up the midfield and attack a little bit more. And I think that stems from that Notts County game for me. And that's a big change of what's kind of followed on for the remainder of the season.
Thanks for watching, guys. That was part 1 of the halftime analysis on Wrexham. You can catch part 2 tomorrow, 10 a.m. So make sure you do that. Smash that like button, smash that subscribe button, turn that bell so you never miss an upload. Make sure you check out Paul and check out part 2 tomorrow.